Okay. See what we got here. It went live on YouTube. Can't see it, but it says it's there. We are. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the Not Your Average
Not Your
Guy.
Average Guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know if I told you about our sponsor, Jolly Ridge. You gave me this mug, and I'm trying to get over my speaker. And the second time I used it, you see these lines?
Kinda.
I don't know how well you can see this. I it I thought, oh, that's what the problem is. It's trying to follow my face, and it's come on thing. It's anyway. I took it on the mower. It fit real nice in the mower cup holder, but then I got about halfway done mowing and I didn't have it anymore. And oddly, it's very similar color to the grass. And I did not find it until the next time when I ran over it with the tire, but not the blade.
Looks like it still works.
Yeah, it still works. Yeah.
Good.
So what do you have for us tonight, Darcy? I have a very opinionated subject, but I can hold off till later if need be.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So I don't know if it was like this in your area, but
rundown. I can give you a little rundown of the happenings on the farm here in the last few days.
Okay. Yeah, go for that first.
So we were out of town for we left Friday morning and came home Sunday evening. So anyway, for that long, it's a pretty short period of time, and my goats are pretty much fine. They get some grain in the mornings, but it's not something that they've got to have. They've got grass and hay, water, shelter. And my chickens, my chicken feeder feeds for like a week, and they've got enough water to last them probably 7 days. So they're pretty good. And that automatic door on the coop, so they go out in the morning and go back in at night, and they're closed up. But anyway, I was looking on Saturday morning, I think. I was looking at my camera that faces the coop, and I mean, my backyard's kind of scruffy, but I'm pretty familiar with the scruff. So I pull up the camera and I'm like, uh-oh, that kind of looks like new bird parts there. So I go back in the camera footage back to the evening before. Like, I just scroll back, just looking for when that those feathers aren't there. And so I find it and get it figured out. And my turkey does not go inside at night most nights. It did last night because it was stormy. But it sits on top of the chicken coop. And I think that we have discussed in the past how generally that's a pretty safe place, except for the fact that I cut up a giant tree right there and have a huge stack of firewood sort of piled up next to the chicken coop, making it pretty easy to get onto the top of the chicken coop. So I'm watching, and you see this little streak of an animal with a long tail go flying up the chicken coop roof, I mean, and you hear the turkey start squawking and flapping, and then here comes a turkey and a raccoon flying out from behind the coop, like, and the raccoon is pretty much on the turkey's back. So
Oh crap.
turkey gets free and flaps up and gets on top of the 6-foot chain link fence and spends the rest of the night up on the fence. And raccoon like sniffed around the yard for a while and then wandered off. So the turkey.
So it didn't ever go back to try to get it again.
No, just turkey barely made it through Friday night or Saturday night. I can't remember. I think it was Friday night. Kind of funny.
Took his shot. Didn't succeed.
Nope.
Don't mess with the king.
Turkey lives to
That's funny.
fight another day.
I guess that wouldn't have been my guess that would be a quick meal for a raccoon.
No. Man, it must have been a hungry one.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Or it was just up there snooping around and didn't really realize what it was after.
Thought chicken, probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, not for your turkey, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So, today, I don't know if it was like this in your part of the world for all of our viewing audience. It looks like we have one person watching on YouTube, which is me.
Oh, man.
It's me. Thought we had somebody. It was I don't know if you call this election day, but it was voting day, right? Was it vote? Did you guys vote where you are?
No. I don't think we had anything to vote for in our county.
Okay.
What would it have been? It would have been, you know what? I bet that we had this. Maybe it's the school board stuff right now.
That's what it was for a lot of the districts around us. It was school board stuff and aldermen, some mayors, and city council people. So I went over to our voting location, walked in, got registered and everything, went and sat down, and I looked at the page and read the instructions because you're supposed to do that. And first question was on a full size page, it was like this much void, and this was the description and then the first question. So I answered the first question and I flip it over and there's nothing on the back. And I flip it back over and I'm looking over it real close. There's just one question. That's it. So, which is totally fine because it's the only question I was there really intentionally there to answer. But here was the question. Should the voters approve? And the wording here is very important because I am a taxation is theft guy.
Yeah.
I never, ever vote to tax myself or other people.
Okay.
Now, there might be a universe out there in the multiverse where a version of me does vote for taxing people. Okay. But it is my firmly held belief that at this juncture, no is always the answer to, would you like to pay more taxes? However, I read the question, and here's how the question was worded. I may get it slightly wrong, but do the voters vote to, like, a yes is for the fire district that we're part of to levy no more than a 5-cent tax per $100 of property value. 5 cents per $100. And when you word it that way, you think 5 cents per $100. Well, that's not very much. And you're tempted, even as a no tax, to think like, man, do they really need a couple bucks that bad? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they did all of this to get 5 cents per $100. And I didn't know if you could pull out your phone because like I was not able just to off the top of my head register what that would mean. Okay. But I stuck to my guns and I voted no. And I went and I said, did I get the whole thing? Because there's just one question on this page. And they're like, oh no, there's just one question, but it's really important. And I'm like, yeah. And I stuck it in the little Scantron thing and I went about my way. And then I sat in the truck and I ran the numbers.
Okay.
It is 5 cents per $100 if you have an average property in our county, which is $500,000. You're voting yourself an increase of $250 per year for your property for one public service, the fire district.
The more expensive your property is, the lower per dollar it is.
What do you mean?
So is that what you're saying? They're giving you an average?
No, they're saying that they're giving you the number that the way of showing you the math equation that makes it seem the cheapest is what they're doing. Because you're thinking, yeah, if I had $100 property, I would be paying 5 cents per year. But if you have $1,000 property, it's graded. Like if you have a more expensive property, you pay more.
Okay.
But the way they word it, you're just like 5 cents per $100 doesn't sound like very much, but it's actually a fair. I mean, one could argue $250 isn't a lot of money, but if that increases your tax burden by almost 20%, that's a fair amount of money. And every time that they reassess your property, they automatically give themselves a revenue increase.
Yeah.
Because you allowed them to levy a tax based on the value of your property. Does that, you tracking does that make sense?
Yeah.
I did look it up afterward because I was honestly, here's what irritated me about it. Not that I went to vote or that I voted against something that it follows my principles. What I was irritated about was that the way that they worded it almost had someone who's as adamantly against taxation as me thinking about it. Just like, I wonder if that is a very small amount. That seems like a very small amount. It amounts to about 103% increase for that service. There's already basically that amount being levied right now, and they want to double it in one swipe, whatever, however you would say that.
Yeah.
And so that got voted down.
It did.
It got voted down. It was about a 5-to-1 ratio, people voting against it. But the second, you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you vote for tax increases? Have you ever voted for a tax increase? Do I have to unfriend you?
No, I have not.
No. We also lived in a town where it seemed like every time previously, before we lived here, we lived in a town where it seemed like it didn't matter what they could be like, we want to levy a tax on ourselves for lollipops for all of the aldermen. And people would be like, yeah, tax us for lollipops. And then they'd be like, we want to levy an extra tax to raise money for streets. Yeah, do that. And then they would never improve the streets. And they'd be like, we want to levy a tax so that Home Depot and all of these big box stores can come to town and not have to pay taxes on their property. Yeah, let's do that. Like, it just seemed like it didn't matter what. They just got those people to vote. Like, it was always slim margins. It was like, 55, 56%. But it was still like, that means that I talk to people who are idiots all the time.
Yeah.
What are you doing? If you vote for tax increases, this is a public service announcement. If you vote for tax increases, don't ever complain about taxes. That's the stupidest thing. Okay, so then here's one that also got voted down, because I think right now tax initiatives are getting voted down across our part of the country. The school that Sarah works at, they were doing an initiative that was a bond issue, and all over the and it got voted down too. It actually had higher than a 50% for, like, more people voted for it than against it, but because of the type of issue it was, it had to be a 4/7 majority.
Okay.
Or 5/7. And so it was voted down by maybe less than a dozen votes total. It was that close. But it wasn't just a pure majority that had to vote for it. And I'm just going to admit a little bit of ignorance here, but I never have understood how they can be like, there's not going to be any tax increase. There's going to be no added cost for this bond initiative to improve all of these things. And I'm like, how? How is there no added cost and there's no tax increase? Is it just that you're not voting yourself a tax increase today? Or is it that they have figured out a way to get people to vote money into existence? I don't understand. How is there no cost? And why can they say that? Why is it not false advertising when they say it?
There's always a cost.
Well, there's no cost. I'm telling you.
If there's
on this bond issue, there was going to be no cost.
Then there's no money.
Well, if there's no cost, why are you asking us to vote for it? Like, I don't understand. Just do it. If it doesn't cost anything and it's an improvement, just do it. Like, you have my permission. I don't need to vote for that. Again, it's where Sarah works. It's not our district that voted for that. But yeah, I don't know. Do I sound like an old codger? I probably do.
Little.
I kind of like, I feel like an old codger.
You feel codgery?
Yeah. Taxation is theft. Like, did I tell you this? I was at Lowe's the other day. I go through and I rung up my item. Maybe I told you this, but I'll just regurgitate it for the podcast. Maybe I did it. Maybe I told you on here. I don't know. I rang up a pair of sunglasses that were on sale. Like, they were safety/sunglasses. They were on sale for, like, I don't know, $4 or something like that. But when you rang them up, they rang up at like something that didn't seem to jive with $4 plus tax. And so I was like, oh, I think those were like $4. And the guy at the counter is like, you don't want to pay the taxes? And I was like, well, isn't that the pre-tax total? Oh, no, that's the after-tax total. I was like, okay, fine. He's like, well, what? You don't want to pay the taxes? I was like, no, who does? Well, I do. And he like started railing me about taxes and how he's like, well, I've lived in a lot worse places where the taxes were higher. And I was like, yeah, I imagine you might have done that. Doesn't mean I have to like taxes. Well, what about your roads? I said, well, we pay a fee for driving on the roads. What fee? I'm like, gas taxes. We pay a tax that is actually a legitimate tax, like a gas tax, at least when you buy gas and then you drive on the road, the person paying for this tax uses the service. Well, what about the fire department? I'm like, well, they don't know where my house is. They're not going to get there if my house is burning down. And that's why I have insurance. Well, what about the police department? I said, I have guns. He's like, well, and it's just like, I was like, dude, it's okay for you to like taking it up the butt from the government and for me to not want to pay taxes, or at least not any taxes that I don't get anything for.
Yeah.
He wasn't having that.
You didn't.
And the funny thing is, no, I didn't convince him. I just laughed it off and walked off. And we didn't get in like a fist fight or anything, because then, he would have called his police force to protect him. But then I realized I'm pretty sure that he actually accosted my brother about taxes like 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember standing there in line with my brother Trevor, who's a veteran, and he was having almost the exact same conversation with the guy. Only Trevor is like way more aggressive about these kinds of conversations. Like, he shows his displeasure much more quickly than I do.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Oh man.
So that's my story for the day.
That's good. I didn't do a whole lot today.
Didn't do a lot?
Mm-mm. Nope.
I did a lot. I just didn't get a lot done.
What'd you work on today?
Well, I drove to the lumberyard to get a window that wasn't at the lumberyard in Belton. It was at the lumberyard in Lee Summit. Then I drove to that lumberyard, and they couldn't find the window. And they charged me for the window, but they never actually produced a window. And the guy who supposedly knew where the window wasn't there. The guy who assigned that guy to put the window where it was supposed to be put wasn't there. And they just all around didn't have any idea how to come up with my window. So I basically wasted 2 hours getting a window that honestly I should have just called them and told them the address originally and just been like, yeah, deliver that for me. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to pay them the surcharge, because everybody's charging a gas surcharge now. So instead I just wasted, $100 of my time and $50 of my gas driving around to get it, and didn't end up with it. And then I talked on the phone with a guy about septic systems, and tried to get. I have a homeowner who wants a very specific septic system called a what is it called? It's called an AES Presbury septic system, and I don't know what's the significance of this particular septic system is, but that's the one he wants specifically. So I've been trying to come up with an installer who knows about it or has used it or has an opinion about it of some kind. It's really not that easy in the construction industry to get people to try new things. You have a fair amount of construction experience. Would you say that's pretty typical, no matter what trade it is, that tradesmen want to do what they do? They don't want to do what's new.
Yeah.
And there's there's good and there's bad about it. The bad is that whenever you have a new client who really wants something specific, it's real hard to get them a bid because nobody knows about the thing that they're wanting. And it doesn't seem to matter how much the company's selling the product says, oh, this is a time saver and a money saver. If the tradesman has to do something different than usual, he's going to charge you more. Because, I mean, I get it. Who wants to be stuck on a job where you're spending your time trying to learn something new after you've done septic systems for the last 30 years? Like, nobody. So I don't know where that's going to go exactly, because I can't seem to find anybody who knows anything about this septic system that this guy wants. Yeah.
Where'd he find it?
I don't know. On the internet, I guess. I mean, you can find it on the internet. But there's a few little things about it that, like the guy that I did get on the phone. Actually, you might know the guy. His last name is man, I wish I could find it. The septic installer's last name is Bockelman. Do you remember Bockelman's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Bockelman?
I think it's his son.
Hmm.
Was John the older guy that had the sons? He lived out by Scott. Yeah. So I believe it'd be one of his sons. And it wasn't the one that's the builder / framer guy that became a missionary later. It's one I've never met.
Huh.
But yeah, he seems to be a pretty sharp guy, and he was actually the first guy that I've talked to that was interested in even looking up and learning about the new system. But one of the things he said about it was, one of the things that can be a problem in our area is that sand isn't nearly as cost effective to get as like limestone rock. And limestone is typically the media around here that is used to fill in the spaces around the outflow pipes and things like that in a leach field, because we have a lot of limestone quarries around here. And so if a septic system, for instance, requires a specific like grain weight of sand, it could be really expensive just to get the right sand for your system. And so and septic systems are very specific. You have to, like, the water has to infiltrate the ground at the right pace, and the air to bacteria level has to be just right. Like, there's a lot of details that have to be kind of working, in the right ways. And again, that's why the contractors that do them, if they're going to stand behind them for an amount of time, they want their system to work for our region, for our land, etc. Granted, there's a lot of contractors who don't care, like the contractor who found your septic tank and then just buried it back in under the ground without even giving an indication of where it was.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that?
I don't know.
Why was there no riser? Anyway, yeah. So I goofed around talking to people about that stuff today, and not a very productive day on my end either. But
so I was talking to old James earlier, who the audience may notice is absent this week. I think that the person who's watching on YouTube was like, I wonder where Jimmy is.
Yeah, probably. They probably left because of Jimmy not being here.
So Jimmy is working in Ireland right now. Like he's
Ireland.
he's over there on a work trip. Supposed to be doing some remodel
Nice.
stuff.
Remodel stuff. Does he
Yeah.
have a contractor's license in Ireland?
Probably.
Man, I had no idea.
So, yeah. So anyway, I said, so how's your project going over there? Feel like you're staying motivated, getting a lot done? He said, well, actually, we haven't done anything. And he's been there. He flew out Friday night, got there early, would have been early Saturday morning, I guess. So he's been there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and haven't done anything. And I said, "What's up?" And he said,
Why?
"We can't get the keys to the house." So
From who?
From the seller's realtor. And their realtor is like, "Yeah, we're 90% sure we can get the keys probably by like Thursday by 5."
Why not just get a locksmith or something?
I don't know. They've closed on the house.
Like they own the house.
They own the house.
They own the house.
Other people have the money, but they have no house. And apparently that's not out of the ordinary over there. He was talking to a friend of ours who lives over there, and that guy said when he bought his house a few years ago, it was similar. And then he said whenever he called to get his electricity turned on, they were like, yeah, okay, well, we can probably we'll probably be able to get to that next week. He's like, no, what? I need it as soon as possible. And they were like, why don't you go ahead and call us back tomorrow? So he calls back the next day, and they're like, yeah, the person who deals with that stuff's not here today, but they'll be back in the next week or so. And he said it was probably a week and a half to get his electricity turned on in his house that he just purchased.
Just normal. That's just how they roll.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. So Jimmy's sitting over there waiting. I said, you need to go.
Is it going on tours of the...
Yeah, they've gone to...
So
they went hiking, and I don't know.
How did he wind up with this job? Who's the person here that he knew that bought the house there?
It's some friends of ours, John and Carrie Brown.
Are they working over there or something? Or are they moving there permanently?
They travel over there enough that it makes sense. And I'm sure that they will use it as an investment. Are
we talking Brown as in Brown's Irish Market? Brown?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're Kansas City people that have a actual Irish store, and they do a lot of importing, I'm assuming. Is that what the deal is? Why they travel over there?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least what they do when they're over there?
Yes. Yep. They do a lot of buying while they're over there. So, yeah.
Okay. So is that okay to say that we know them? We need to get them to be the sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, we should.
Give us Reuben sandwiches to eat every time that we're doing the podcast, and Guinness.
And whiskey.
Dude, and whiskey.
Yeah. One of these days, Jimmy and I are... It's gonna happen this summer. We're gonna procure a kegerator. It's gonna live in either my garage or my basement, and it's gonna have a keg of Guinness in it.
Not speaking of kegerators, but did you end up buying that distilling kit for $100 the other day?
You never text me back on that.
I thought I did. I thought I texted you a thumbs up. Did I not?
Oh, I don't know. I'll go back.
I tried to text you a thumbs up because I was thinking
maybe you did text me back. I'll look and see if it's still for sale.
maybe
$100 though.
Maybe in my, yeah. I mean, the thing is, $100 doesn't get you a whole lot of stuff these days. So
I know.
Why not?
Yeah.
A couple of the items I wasn't sure, like the piping. I usually see it in copper, and those were like the corrugated stainless.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but I mean, copper seems like it'd have a more nuanced flavor than a stainless distiller, but
yep.
Stainless would be easier to keep clean and free of bad flavors and stuff. I still, by the way, I still have that pipe for making one, a bunch of 3/4 inch soft copper for the piping for one if we ever decide we're going to actually do it. And I've been thinking a lot about my build, and how that I really need to, before putting shelving, benches, workbenches, etc. into it, I really need to map out an exact map of what is going where, so that I actually have a designated space for all the various things that I am quasi into. That being one of them, a section of the shelving that is set up specifically for brewing. But yeah, because short of having it set up for it, we don't do it enough.
I know.
I mean, we don't do it enough, but part of the issue is that we just don't have a dedicated space that's like ready to go, where we can just walk in, brew, and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Brad does, but Brad brews probably once or twice a month, and that's part of the reason why. So, I mean, anyway, well, I don't know if we had plans for a really long podcast tonight, but
no, I don't think so.
I do have a report to write before I go to bed, and it needs to be in before midnight. So, I don't know if we want to call it or not.
We sure can. Yep.
And I would like to try setting up multiple cameras. You should try setting up multiple cameras on your end next week too, and we could do 2 archery shooting, like 4. That would work, wouldn't it? 4 video setups, both of us shooting intermittently.
Okay, that'll be our intro.
I mean, it'll be interesting to all the viewers. They'll all be very interested to see us both shooting our bows.
I know.
Your new bow that is tuned up nicely, and my bow that is
getting there. Yeah.
Every day getting a better shooter putting its hands on it.
Have you been shooting every day?
It's not getting any younger. Late last few weeks, around the last weekish, probably. Yeah. Because big thing was I moved the tractor so I can shoot in the barn even when it's super duper windy out here. It's been windy here, and nasty weather for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining Not Your Average Guys podcast. I'm Darcy, signing out.
Dan. See ya. Wait.
Crap. You still? What the?
You
Huh,
are we
that's
still live?
I
Live.
guess.